Thank you. I just had to grab my tea.
Oh, that's okay. I was just gathering my thoughts, and it's been really, really challenging. Like, I got your email, by the way, this morning, like in terms of the themes we will be talking about today. And I really don't know why. I usually pretty good with focusing, but for some reason, I can't really focus.
Well, you're a Taurus sun though, right?
Yeah, yes, I am. Yep. I'm using your
You
calendar,
know,
by the way. Do I have anything going on or?
yeah, no, I think I'm actually going to talk about it today. Folks that have your Taurus placements, Uranus is in that last degree of Taurus. And when you get to that last degree, Uranus is just driving its point home. Like, oh my goodness, did you learn the lesson of Uranus and Taurus? Did you really learn it? But April
Oh,
25th onward, you're going to be fine. Your ability to focus, your ability to think is just, and then the Gemini folks need to worry about
oh,
Uranus.
it's like the last drop. It's almost like the do you have that too with like a toothpaste tube? Like you just squeeze and there's always more coming out of it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, I couldn't focus and maybe people can't focus and I was just looking at the themes and it's always the same thing. The war, Iran, Epstein,
Trump.
um, Trump, his health, and people start to like really
Yeah.
um start to like really want things to move. And this is where
Hmm.
timelines really
Hmm.
matter and the element of time. And I know that, I don't know if when you have your consultations, like time is a big element, but in my readings, like people always want to know time. And time doesn't exist in spirit, and we always talk about that. So is that also a big theme for you?
Yeah, I mean, in astrology, we're actually really good with time. What we really struggle with is the story, like what actually happens. We know Uranus will do this, like Uranus and Taurus. Uranus is like disruption, surprises, lightning in a bottle, change. But and we'll know you've been going through a 6 year period of change, but I won't know, is it a big change? Is it a little change? Is it like death by thousand paper cuts? Or is it like big, surprise at a tree in your living room type of thing. So, yeah, timing is I mean, I actually feel hopeful with the timing. I feel hopeful
Okay.
with with April and things shifting. But yeah, I did see that with you had a session yesterday. A lot of people were asking the timing of things. Three
And we
cards for
see
this.
that acceleration of timing, and I mean, people right now, I think they're aware of all those themes, the war, Iran, but they really want to know times, like where we think it's going to happen. So maybe we could use time maybe as kind of
Yeah,
the
let's
theme
start the
of the
show.
show,
Yeah, let's start the
and
show today
there's the
with
time,
time. Yeah.
okay, and then just
Yeah.
use that time as you think that would be interesting for the viewers?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we can help people to look at time differently, then they could maybe not feel so much
Oh,
pressure. Like, I need to know it now. I
okay.
need to figure it now, but go, hey, you're actually on a timeline and it's about to end. And I think, yeah, I think people today would like that to hear that. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well,
Okay.
let's just, I mean,
Okay.
because I mean we're pretty pressed on time,
Yeah. Let
so
me just do
um
a lip gloss check. And
okay,
then,
and um well, let me get some water real quick. Okay,
okay.
I'll be
Okay.
back.
Great. Okay.
Okay. Well, we're ready, so
Okay.
we can start the show. Yep.
Yeah. Let me
You're
adjust
ready.
this.
You have
Yes.
everything. Yeah, let me
Yep. Yep.
adjust a
Yep.
little bit here, the lighting. Yeah, looking good.
Yeah.
You ready?
Is this a new camera?
No, it's the same camera, but I have modeled a little bit the room differently, and people have thought it's a
Okay.
new camera, but it's not. You
Yeah.
like it?
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I do. I do. I think
Yeah.
it looks like you moved to a new place.
All right. Well, let's start the show. I think we'll just kind of, go with the flow a little bit, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
talk really use like time as the element. So let me press the recording here. Okay, you ready? One, two. Oh, wait a minute. Like what happened? We've been recording for the last 5 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh, what are we gonna
So,
do
when I
now?
got back, um, we could just start. Hi, folks.
Yeah,
We are we're gonna talk
that,
about. It's been so hard to get the Zoom to work, so let's just roll with it.
Well, for those of you who wanted to know a little bit what happens backstage, this gives you a little bit of a taste of it.
Oh my goodness.
And
Well, yeah, folks, we're going to talk about time. We're going to talk about current events. We're going to talk about Trump
Trump,
and
we're gonna be talking
Iran.
and
Um,
Epstein.
Epstein,
Yes.
we're going to hit all the classics. But we want to talk about time. We want to talk about different ways of relating to time. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me start sharing. So we're going to cover a lot of topics. We're going to talk about global stuff. We're going to talk about Cuba because that's what Nate and I talked about. We're going to talk about Iran. We're going to talk about Trump, end of war, etc. But we're also talking about the astrology of April. So we're going to be talking about through a 30-day, framing, what do we see with, from my point of view of an astrologer and also a strategist, and then Nate's point of view of his psychic abilities, his tarot, etc. So, should we just get started?
Yes, let's
Okay.
do
What a way to start. Okay, so folks, if you're not familiar with me, I'm Ness. I am an astrologer on YouTube. We're going to be covering April's predictions. And just a little bit about me, I'm kind of pulling back the curtain and revealing myself a bit more. I do astrology, but that's one thing I do in my little toolkit or wheelhouse. I'm actually a design strategist. So I actually work formally in the future space in tech companies and many tech, there's more companies than what's listed here that I've worked with. And I basically help them divinate and manifest in a very 3D way, using market trends, using user research. Market trends are like group mass patterns, like companies, governments, countries, and then user research are just human desires, human wishes, and then emerging technologies. And so I've worked in this future space for a while. And this is kind of what Nathan and I were going to talk about with time. And so I work in that corporate space, worked, being help people in a 3D world innovate for the future. And we're going to talk about it too, because I think it's going to help folks understand how to relate to not only the month of April, but also, working with Nathe or working with myself or just this whole YouTube woo-woo world. So in my world, I just want to jump over here and talk about this. So there's like a point in time now, and then there's the immediate future. And in my work in corporate and R&Ds, as you get farther in the future becomes less predictable, less probable. It's easier to predict what will happen tomorrow than to predict what will happen a month from now. The probability goes lower. And so, what I do with work is I help them understand not only to imagine the multitude of futures that can happen, but also farther in the
it.
future. And when you go farther in the future, you want to show multitudes. If you're going more closer, you can do less limited future timelines. And so that's what I've been formally trained in and did very well and helps companies. But it also is very similar to working with Nathe, working with any other reader. And my distillation of my corporate futurism work, plus my experience with y'all in the YouTube world for the past, 4 years, is when you go and get a reading with a tarot reader or a psychic, you're on a particular timeline, and there might be a little variation, like a little probability of kind of how it might actually execute, but it's mostly a tight little range out of the range of possibilities. And when you go to Nath and he pulls 3 cards for the next 6 months, or will you buy the house or etc., he's getting a sense of you on a particular timeline. And folks, this is my perception of what's happening. Nath will kind of chime in about his perception, but this is what I've distilled based on my experience. He's done it many times. Nath has pulled cards and says, oh, this is the outcome. And sometimes I don't like that outcome. I don't want that. I don't want to hear that, or I don't want that to be. And then I make big changes on my side and I actually change the outcome. And I teach this a bit too in my manifestation course that I'm going to have on 6/6 of this year. But this is very much working with, tarot readers and working with psychics about this concept of you're on a particular timeline based on your behavior, based on your patterns, based on, the conditions you're around. But when you make big changes, you can shift timelines. And that's kind of what we're doing in April. We're really going to see a lot of this shifting of timelines. Even being in the war is a bit of a shift to that. And then I also want to talk about this too. It's kind of a hard graphic, so let me actually visualize with my hands. In this world, there seems to be two dominant schools of thought. Or let me, how do I do this? Like this. Here we go. When you predict the future, there is how much is predetermined, based on where you are, what your timelines are. And there's a part of you manifesting your desire, your consciousness of bringing things into existence. And if you're someone that's more asleep, like you're in the matrix, et cetera, you're going to be more in that predeterminism energy, acting out those patterns, ancestral patterns, et cetera. If someone who keeps dating a particular person, in their family or everyone in their family does, think of the Kardashians, they all tend to date the same type of guy. Um, but if you're a really powerful manifester, going back to this, you could, as much as you have predeterminism, you could push the reality that you want. You are in a state of agency of acting instead of reacting. And especially, folks, if you're someone that's like the first one to go to college or the first one to choose a vocation, you're the first one to relocate, you're in this manifestation energy. And so I teach a class on this formally where a lot of this is, brought up, but I just want to be aware, folks, as much as we're in this timeline of April and it can feel like, oh, it's all predetermined or oh, it's this, it's timelines are shifting all the time. It's just as much as we arrive here, we could also leave here. What is your thoughts on this, Nate? Sorry, I kind of went on a little bit too much.
No, no, that's okay. I wanted to kind of hear your full thought. I
Mhm.
wanted to connect your thoughts with a question that I get often. You want to
Mhm.
get back to kind of the
Yeah,
full
yeah,
screen?
yeah, here we go.
Um, I get this question. I think it ties to a question that I get often is, well, I don't understand. We talk about free will and then we talk about predicting future. So
Mhm.
people say, I don't understand. If there's free will, it's kind of the same question in my view. Is there really free will or is there like a prediction? And it's both because the way that I explain this is that if you go to the ice cream shop and you want an ice cream, you have complete free will to pick the kind of ice cream you want. If you want vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream, that's your free will. And
Yeah,
so, that's where you exercise it in the most obvious part. But as you're born here and you arrive here on Earth, you, we, we also have lessons to learn. And there's certain things that are predetermined in our path that maybe
mm,
takes us to certain lessons, to certain directions that we don't have as much free will on those things. And so the answer is there's both. There's both a combination of free will and a combination of predetermined things. And it's the push-pull of those two things that's going to make up your whole life.
yeah. I love that. I love it. So the predeterminism in that example is you're gonna have ice cream, but the free
Yes.
will is which type of ice cream will you have?
Or you're predetermined to really enjoy ice cream. Why?
Mm,
We don't know, but this is an example. Your taste as you're born is not the same as everyone else. So there's a little bit of
yeah.
predetermination. Some people
Mhm.
love ice cream, some people don't like ice cream. Something seems to be a little bit predetermined here.
Yeah.
But you have your free will to pick vanilla or chocolate. Which one you prefer?
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Which
that.
one
I love and
that's
yeah.
which one you prefer?
I I have phases. I think vanilla is overlooked. I think vanilla is unsung here, but I love a good chocolate ice, like chocolate milkshake on a hot summer day. It's just divine. But I don't really eat chocolate ice cream straight.
Okay.
Like it's mostly in a milkshake form. So, what about you? Do you like chocolate or vanilla?
I don't really care so much for chocolate, so vanilla.
Mm. Vanilla, yeah. Your
Yeah.
French background too. You would love the custard.
So yeah, I hope that helps also people kind of understand that part. I get that question all the time. So, and I've never really addressed it. So when we're talking timelines, when we're talking time, yes, as a reader, I would have signs of a time. If I see the sun for me, that's lately been really, especially where we are now. If I see the sun as a tarot card, it really attached to me to the summer. And obviously, if you live in the northern southern
Oh yeah,
side of the
northern, southern. Yeah.
your winter, but I would translate for you that it would be June, July, August, because I'm the reader and this is the symbol for me. You're not putting your own cards, I'm putting the cards. And so that's how I use those hints. And same thing when people said, number 3, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 days, 3 years. We
Mhm.
receive information and we have to interpret it related to time. And so, or sometimes some of those cards are very, very slow, like the Hermit, Temperance.
Mhm.
Well, those
Yeah.
are slow cards. So
Yeah.
if you're asking when this will happen, I really doubt it's going to happen next week with those kind of cards. You see
Yeah.
how we
Yeah.
readers use them. Yes.
Yeah, some tarot cards are very open to interpretation, and then some tarot cards, like you've been actually getting a lot of Eight of Wands recently. You
Yeah.
just had your
Those are like
members.
boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I mod sometimes on different channels, and I there's points where all the readings are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
All the readings are pointing. And yesterday you had one, and it was pointing that the Eight of Wands, something about, and the astrology of April really shows that
Yeah.
acceleration. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, then let me going back into time. So, folks, if you want to learn more about this, I have a manifestation class on it on June 6th. I just want to get the promo bit, and then we'll go into the shifts collectively that's happening with the globe. So, folks, I have a precious newsletter. I send it out once a month. It has a lot of guidance. It has recommendations on astrology, as well as just tangential things on kind of how to cope with the shifts. If you pull out your phone and you scan this, you're able to add yourself to the newsletter and receive this guidance. You'll also receive a link to this entire presentation so you can kind of view this at your leisure. I offer a paradigm shift reading. As you can see, folks, we're in paradigm shifting times. The old order is leaving, the new order is beginning. It's very collaborative. It's actually for our highest good. I don't feel World War III energy. I don't feel Civil War energy. I feel like it's the breakthrough that's starting to emerge. And we can look at your chart in particular. And I'm actually going to give folks a little sample today, which has to do with based on their rising sign. So, folks, you want to see what is in your first house of self, that, and if it's a fire sign, an air sign. If you are a fire sign, this will be relevant to you. Fire sign, rising signs, not your sun sign, but your rising sign, your first house. Folks, you are going through a paradigm shift of shifting how you think, shifting how you communicate. And there's a big social component with you. You're focusing on connecting with people and like minded groups. You're meant to kind of be a fish in a school of fish. And you're having a social shift, maybe relocating to another area where the people feel more personable, or you feel more connected to the common good, or you might do more things online to connect with people. But your paradigm shift is about communication, thinking, and a social component. Water signs, and Nathe, you're a Scorpio rising, you're going through a shift of going deeper and specializing. You're going deeper into a topic and mastering, going in one particular area or craft and just really honing it in. You're also not afraid to go where others have not gone before. You're willing to go where it's undefined, where things are murky, and play with the ambiguity there. Earth signs are going through a shift of money's values and material possessions. What is stable? What is not stable? And thinking about different ways to feel more emotionally connected to those, how we ground ourselves, how we support ourselves. And there's also a thinking of how to connect with people and how to contribute materially to this world through a social lens of, am I making the world a better place? This is actually really good earth signs for you to be being part of more green movements, sustainability, long-term focus. Should we be using this oil crisis that we're in, or should we focus to renewables? Air
Mm.
signs, I'm an air sign. You're having a big shift on your creativity, your perspective, your self-expression. And there's something about expanding your horizons, your views, and allowing joy and fun and creativity to kind of be your compass more. So you're actually getting in touch with your desires, the air signs, and using that to open your world in different ways. So very, very positive. And I think folks really, if you don't book it with me, find an astrologer in your life to kind of explain the shifting times. But with that, let's actually talk, Nath, about this old order that seems to be exiting right now. So I look at the thing that happens in Iran currently, and I see this not the beginning of an empire or beginning of a whole conflict. I see this as the end of it. This is the efforts of disempowered people, their last grasp of power. And, I can highlight some key things that are happening. Right now, a lot of people are running for midterms, and candidates are clearly saying that they don't accept APAC money. They're saying it out loud and proud. I think even
Right.
Gavin Newsom mentioned at a press conference. Millennials and Gen X, that are running for office or currently are in office, are very much saying, they don't want this Iran. Even the Spain president, the Pedro,
Prime
I can't
Minister
remember his last.
Pedro
Yeah,
Sanchez,
yeah,
yep, has been very
he did
vocal,
it.
yep, about against the war, against Trump's activities and shenanigans, and trying to get Europe to pull back and have, kind of a united voice or more of a standalone point of view. And so that's also a lot of resistance there. With the war, when the war started, I remember we actually were emailing each other that day, that moment, and I went on and I felt like it would be over in 6 weeks. And so that puts us late April, mid to late April. To me, I see this as some sort of ceasefire. It might not be the end of the war, because there's going to be a lot going on afterwards, but I could see a ceasefire in April.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah,
Mm,
the astrology shows that April is an apex. There's something kind of culminating. And so, yeah, it could very much start to wrap up or conclude
mm,
towards the end of April, which, would be very, very helpful. But kind of zooming out, there seems to the shifting times of an old order
mhm.
declining and a new order emerging. Even going back to the Pedro, I think he's a millennial or Gen X. He's been
Then
around.
I
He
think,
saw
yeah.
he was part of witnessing Iraq and the Afghanistan wars, uh, different points. And I think you mentioned earlier too that you had been through an oil crisis before this.
Oh, I was born in 1973, and that was when the shock, exactly the year of the oil shock and the OPEC embargo, and it was very, very severe. It lasted for about 6 months. And so energetically, and I assume a number of viewers were adult or young adult or adult at that time. And so the energy around it, around the world, were for preservation. The idea
Mhm.
that we might not have enough or it's very expensive, and put it into that shrinking mindset,
Mhm.
not growth
Yeah.
mindset, but shrinking
Yeah.
mindset. And so energetically, I felt like we feel that right now. Like when you feel the air, do you feel like a growth mindset? Absolutely not. You feel a shrinking mindset. And so that's why people are really feeling in fear, in shock, in withdrawal. And so you can decline that in many, many ways. Um, it's also very interesting because that energy that we're feeling right now, it's also prone to innovation, because when you have less
Hmm.
of something, you have to innovate to find
Yeah.
another way. And so that could also be with, everything we're saying, this old order that you're calling, the timeline shift of the old order. If you really look at it from a leadership perspective around the world, you see, well, I know everyone wants to know when or the date, but this is where we're saying it's a timeline, because Trump's going to go away, Netanyahu's going to go away, Putin's going to go away. It's all because they're coming at the end, at the very end,
Yeah.
actually, of their
Yeah.
lifespan. In the big picture, we might not be able, I'm not even able to tell you the day, but this, you
Yeah.
know, this is coming just because they're getting older and the energy is shifting. And so when we turn the page on this leadership, imagine the new energies that are going to rise. and bring this innovation, this fresh, let's just call it fresh air.
Yeah. And folks, we are all going to be, most of us will be around in a year or two where Trump and Putin and Netanyahu, or maybe in a few years out, they won't be here anymore. Like we're gonna
All
have
of
a
them
point.
at different
Yeah.
times and close to each other, but they're all, I mean, whatever, reader you watch, like they're getting cards such as Nine of Swords, Ten of Swords, End of Cycles. And this
Yeah.
cycle is ending, and it's ending quick. And the way that it's ending, it's like, there's a loss of power, and loss of power doesn't mean that you're taking off power immediately. You might lose power even though you're still in power because there's so many events. An example of that, when you have counter powers that rise, such as the King's March that's coming up
Yeah.
this month, that's actually eating away and taking power away. It's a
Yeah.
dynamic.
Yeah. I think, yeah, the No Kings protest that's going to occur in what, 5 days? Oh my goodness. And I can feel into that energy too, because it's going to be global. It's going to be so
Yeah,
global. It's going to be,
I,
there's a media blackout with the war, right? And so I'm using these weird
yeah.
hashtags to kind of bypass and to peek. I'm actually using French hashtags to find out on TikTok because they're not censoring as much in France. And so, yeah, I use like Lagar, Laguerre. And so I find out, yeah, folks try to use French tags in TikTok to see it. But they were talking about Israeli tourists around the world are having a big backlash because like Thailand and Indonesia are paying more at the pump and they're a bit more hostile towards, they're connecting the dots in terms of what is causing the situation as opposed to, oh, it's Trump, it's just him. And so even Pedro, I keep going back to him. He made that Twitter announcement like, hey, this needs to stop. He wasn't trying to make any policy change. He wasn't trying to, move
Mhm.
any material needle, but he was just like making that emotional statement of like, hey, this is my feel. We need to stop. The grown-ups need to
Yes.
come back. This is not going to work. Yeah.
I pulled a couple cards on the King's March. The first one is the Two of Cups. It's people coming together. It's very good.
Hmm.
That cards, the Angel of Mercy. There's a lot of protection from the guides and the angels around it. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
It's there's protection. There's help
Yeah.
from the spirits with this. And I like the final card, the Fool. It's the step before a new beginning. It's the number zero. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting because I feel like a big reset after this. Mhm.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, I think the spirit world would love us to come together and be high
Yes,
vibrational like that. So I
yeah, it's
wouldn't
high
be
vibration.
surprised. Yeah, that collective energy amplifying everything. So going back to the global stage, I'm curious, let's focus on Iran. I predict, and this is a bit more my strategist brain, a little bit of woo-woo. I predict um, Iran is going to control the Strait afterwards. It's, Trump is talking about a 50-50 kind of dual thing. So, folks, if you're not familiar, the Strait of Hormuz is very unique before this war happened, where traditionally when you have a strait or something like that, like the Panama and the Strait, I think that's in Egypt. I can't recall the name of it. And I think there's one in Chile. Usually the country takes a fee. So if you want to pass through me, you have to pay a fee to the
Yep.
country. Iran didn't do that. Iran has never done that. And so I predict that Iran is going to own that strait afterwards. What are you thinking? What do the cards say?
I'm gonna pull a couple cards and definitely feel like your hit is legit. I also got like a feeling that it's not gonna be the same fees for everyone. I feel like they will have some sort of preferential pass,
Ooh,
like why
interesting.
does it have to be the same for everyone? It's not
Yeah.
equalitarian. And so I almost get the sense like, well, if you're China, maybe it's not the same as if you are,
Or
the
or even Japan now. Japan is very much schmoozy with Iran.
yes, so it might be I'm keep getting this idea of preferential treatments on who you
Okay.
are and what you do. Okay, so will there be some sort of pass-through fee um for the Strait of Hormuz? Hmm. Oh, interesting. The high priestess, there's discussions behind the scenes. This is the
Hmm.
hidden discussions. We have the tower, but I mean, this is the situation today, right? I mean, this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
very, very chaotic. And who's showing up here? The King of Pentacles with his money and paying. It's almost like Trump paying his due.
You know what's so interesting? So I think I take a step back and look at, how we got here. And I look at the past few months, this board of peace, you have to pay $1 billion or something. They were basically a board of war. They were calling themselves the
Yes.
board of peace, but they were basically coming together and say, we're going to jump that guy. We're going to be a gang and we're going to jump that guy, aka Iran. And it's just, they were doing it so publicly. But when I see the Tower card and the King of Pentacles, it's like that board of peace is inverse. Like they're the ones that are going to need peace. Like they're going to the ones, not like they're going
Uh,
to be attacked, but they're going to lose the money. The King of Pentacles, they thought they were going to profit from this, but I wonder if they're going to be on that short
I
list of
mean,
maybe paying higher fees.
a side comment though. Um, for someone who pretends to be the best businessman in the world, after taking tariffs from everyone and having to refund them, and coming from a situation where you didn't have to pay for a pass-through and now you have to pay for a stress-through, that doesn't feel very much like the best businessman in the world.
No, no, it's he's going to have to spin it.
Yes, but this is kind of a theme that I think we were discussing a while back, which is like the taco aspect. Trump always chickens out. Is there an end to this? Because obviously it's human psychology that you lose credibility.
Yes. I think they're smarter than him though, in the sense that they know he's a taco and they need to give him a little off ramp, like give him a t-shirt,
Mm,
like I survived the war and I'm still a big guy type of thing. And
okay.
even so he did that 48-hour thing, right? And that was supposed to be today, was the 48 hours. But then this morning, right when the markets open, 7 a.m. Eastern time, he posted that tweet on his Truth Social of the 5 day. He's going to give everyone 5 days. And I was listening to this Economist podcast earlier today, and they said 5 days is actually the limit, is basically the length you need to see the oil markets bounce back because it trickles out for a while. So he's waiting to see if 5 days made the markets improve. If it did make the markets improve, that could be potential an off ramp of
Mm.
of Iran. I can't imagine someone's a
I think
taco when
it's
it
like
comes to war. Yeah, go ahead.
no, it's testing different scenario. I felt like it's in experimentation and testing mode. Like you would test with a software, like you would test anything. This is a test.
Yeah,
Um,
so
we
interesting.
wanted to kind of also, I don't know if this fits into kind of the structure that we were talking about. Epstein, just a word or two.
Yeah, so I was bringing up before the call. I don't know if we hit record on that one, but
You mean backstage
basically
before we were
the
official,
backstage.
the official and the
The
unofficial
official,
back?
the official. Um, so I was bringing up and validating a prediction that Nath had earlier. So a couple months back, or maybe just 2 months back, Nath had the insight that the pressure of the Epstein files was actually not from a foreign influence or not from Democrats. It was actually from Netanyahu to pressure Trump about Iran. And then once we just had this war start, I noticed, hey, remember last summer when we had the 12-day war? That's when Bondi was publicly saying, oh, there's nothing in the Epstein files. We're done. We're going to call it a day. And then everyone was upset. But that also, the Epstein files was in the news at that point. So it was kind of raised up the volume on the Epstein files. And then the war happened. And then the past few months, we were raising up the dial about the Epstein files. And then now we're in the war. So it feels, from a strategist's point of view, I wouldn't be surprised if Netanyahu is using it to pressure Trump. And Joe Kent did a bunch of interviews. Amazing folks. You should really listen to the Joe Kent interview with Tucker Carlson. I don't agree with Tucker Carlson on a lot of things, but we're going to have very strange bedfellows right now, folks, in terms of the alliances we need to go to. to, or people we need to listen to kind of navigate the paradigm shift that we're in. But in that Joe Kent interview, he talked about how isolated Trump is and how he's not getting information in the right ways. And also he also proposed a theory that potentially Trump is afraid for his life and that he's might be blackmailed. There were some unique events that happened right before Butler, and then Butler happened, and so yeah, he thinks that he's potentially. So I'm, I feel we're at that old order with Epstein files. Like it's going to be, either revealed by another country or those people that are impacted by the Epstein files will no longer be in positions of power. We're going to push that out. We're going to ask the millennials, the Gen X, those folks to who are not implicated to be involved. Yeah.
I wanted to put some cards on something that just grabbed my attention that I haven't read yet before is there was supposed to be a Sasha Riley interview on MS Now and it got delayed. And so
Yes.
I'm just curious about this whole thing. Like, is there something weird about this delay? Why a delay? It's very strange when you announce an
Yeah.
interview and then they say it's delayed. It just doesn't resonate the best to me.
Yes. Yes. And actually Joe Kent talked about it in his Tucker Carlson interview of how during Charlie Kirk's shooting, the government was deliberately vague so that internet conspiracies would go crazy. So when someone actually says the truth, people would not believe it. They would think it's a conspiracy theory. So perhaps with Sasha Riley, by them being doing the interview, not doing the interview, it could also inflame the conspiracy theories. And this is also suggested to say the BB Netanyahu AI videos were done deliberately to get people to doubt their eyes. So when we see actual footage of stuff, we won't believe it. Yeah, that's what Joe Kent made as an argument for on his Tucker Carlson
Oh,
interview.
wow. Okay, we could read on both. I think those are super interesting. They're just quick
But
reads on both. Yes.
yeah, I
Um,
see. I was just tying it to Sasha Riley. I could see them doing the interview and canceling and doing an interview to create a conspiratorial narrative.
so tell me like the truth, the absolute truth on the Sasha Riley
Mm.
delay of the interview. Like, what's Sasha Riley delay? What was that really about?
And while you do that, I'm going to grab my charger because my computer is
Okay.
about to die.
Oh, so interestingly, like first,
We're
I
muted.
think the first card really makes a lot of sense. It is justice. So I could easily imagine that doing an interview like this, there's a lot of legal stuff going on. And
Mm,
so it could be, like imagine the stuff. I mean, because a lot of us have heard the files and all of that.
yeah.
Imagine like the legal precautions the network has to take, Sasha
Mm,
Riley has to take. I think there's a
yeah.
legal aspect.
Yeah.
And then Ace of Pentacles, Nine of Pentacles, is there like a financial aspect to this as well? This is kind of interesting going on. And so I can see that this is not a normal, oh, it was just not feeling well that day. I just get
No,
the sense like something was there. Yeah.
no. It makes me think of two things. One, when Rowan Farrow and those two women were going and trying to spread the truth about Epstein,
Hmm.
they were often pushed down by the network. There was a key chief reporter that basically squashed Rowan Farrow from reporting on Weinstein. And this chief, I forget his name, but he actually made the film House of Dynamite on Netflix. So he actually has a pretty good career, even though he squashed the Weinstein story. And then there was also something with Prince Andrew and Kate Middleton and Prince William about. I just think those pentacles are the oligarchs, the people
Yeah.
saying no. Yeah.
Or that's just something that crossed my head. Was if he was offered money not to do it?
Mm. Potentially, that could be it too. That could be it too.
It could be. It could be. Um,
Sometimes though when victims, or survivors, it's not really about the money, like it's
no,
really
I
about
don't feel
it's
that this is. I feel like
yeah.
it will do the interview, but
Some,
I could
there's a critical
imagine
point. Yeah. Yeah.
that maybe there was an intention for corruption. It's for
Yeah.
saying, if you don't do it, we could. I don't feel at all that this is him asking the network for more money. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I just feel like this is influence, outside influence.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you want to pull a card, yes or no, if it will happen?
will we
Is it being
see the
rescheduled, rescheduled? Yeah.
and kind of a reader's trick is not asking will it happen or not, it's to asking how will it go, and then if it doesn't happen, it
Oh,
shows.
there you go.
How will the interview, um MS now Sasha Raleigh interview go? Oh, I see it going. I see Six of Pentacles. We're not talking about money here. It's giving and receiving. This is actually an
Yeah.
interview.
Yeah.
Um, Three of Cups. There's a celebration. There's like the job being done.
Mhm.
Eight of Swords. There are forces that trying to stop him to do it, but I see
Yeah.
him doing it. That's what we were picking up. I think there are
Yeah.
forces
Really
holding it.
pushing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the Three of Cups with the Eight of Swords could also be other victims helping try to like maybe he won't be the only one doing the interview. Maybe other people he could convince, or
Yeah.
someone does an interview with him and then three other people, like all connected to that Epstein world. So it could be one of many as opposed to just all on him. So very interesting.
Um, I wanted to do real quick, like Netanyahu, just a quick word on it.
Yeah,
It's just
they
such a
yeah,
topic, like alive, not alive, the
yeah.
fingers,
Yeah, so
the
that's what Joe Kent said. It was just to test us to see how people respond. Do they zig, do they zag, and then make plans in the future based on that. So it's kind of a
where we
giant psyops.
where are we where we played
Hmm.
for this? Like, was it to create a buzz, some sort of distraction too? Ten of Cups, I think this is like you get a sense of entertainment a little bit playing. Four of Cups, not believing what's presented to us.
Hmm.
Queen of Sword, but I think, it shows like people are seeing through all this.
Hmm.
Uh, then we won't work hard. Ten of Pentacles, interesting. I mean, money always comes up here.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like, there's maybe news media that profit from spreading those rumors and getting buzz and getting views.
Oh,
So
interesting.
there's maybe financial interests.
Oh, because okay, think about it. If you can control accounts, if you control a bunch of social influencers and you just feed them and then they create viralness, they get paid, so they love
Yeah,
it. But then you
yeah,
feed them which story you want them to focus
exactly.
on, and then it's like buying a newspaper or something, but you're just doing through a bunch of accounts.
And you're spreading. I think what we saw here is you're spreading the whole should we believe, should we not believe? And it just keeps
And
going and it keeps going.
you're also flooding the zone with the algorithms. Anytime you type in Netanyahu, you're going to find Netanyahu alive, dead versus Netanyahu war crimes, Netanyahu,
Mhm, mhm.
the international court. So it's actually flooding the algorithm. And so the articles you see are this, as opposed to more serious critical thinking pieces.
I think they're trying to control the narrative.
Yeah.
And we're in a time of war. It's
Yeah.
propaganda.
Yeah. And it goes viral. Something about the hands being weird pulls attention to it and it does want to share it. I got
Yeah.
hooked into it. I was very hooked into it. I was like, look at the buttons and then the fingers and so interesting. Could we talk about one more thing about the global stage and then we'll go into April's astrology? Is Cuba.
Yes.
So I actually don't think Cuba is in play. I think Cuba could have been more
No.
in play. This is my own my own
Mhm.
intuition hits. I think I think Trump is so messy with Iran that Greenland and Cuba are now off the table. That's my
Mm,
perception. But what do your cards say, and what do your psychicness says in terms of Cuba and then potentially Greenland as well?
I actually, uh, I felt like they might be delayed, but I don't think they're off the table. To me, it's delayed. After Iran, I see other countries in the world, regions in the world where it's become hot. And so Cuba, I think it's one of them. Colombia's one of them. Taiwan's one of them. I'm not saying like there will be war in every aspect,
Yeah.
but they become hot.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Like a seizing. Okay, so like China going after. Because, yeah, I mean, Israel and US going after Iran legitimizes China to go after Taiwan. So,
And yes, and in one of my live, like I didn't see China invading Taiwan,
yeah.
but I saw them putting like some sort of control over around them
Hmm.
to
The supply
limit
chain.
the supply
Yeah.
chain.
Yeah. There's a I forget which one. I don't know if it was Heather Cox Richardson or the woman of iHip News. They said that the US has spent the past 2 years moving the differentiating technology that's in Taiwan. So, folks, if
Yes.
you're not familiar with Taiwan, Taiwan made a country decision to invest in a particular technology. They said, hey, we're going to invest, and this is a technology that takes like 4 years to train people and 7 years to build the factories. And it's like these microchips, like these tiny, tiny
Yeah.
microchips, but it requires a huge investment. But they said, hey, we're going to be the one that specializes in this. And they did. They did. But now they have this differentiation, and a lot of countries want them because it's used for AI chips. But the woman, I can't remember which podcaster, she said that the US has actually been moving that technology
Yes.
to California and Arizona. And there's going to be a
Arizona.
point pretty soon that US does not have any interest to protect Taiwan because it
Hmm.
now has it. So
Yeah.
it
Let's look
it's
at Cuba. Yeah. Sorry,
yeah. No,
I
that's
didn't
fine. You're
mean.
fine.
Um, let's look at Cuba, but let's not just ask this question this way. Will the US take control one way or another of Cuba?
Yeah.
One way or another, because it doesn't have to be military. Will the US try to take control over Cuba? Okay. Yes. Interesting.
Okay. Interesting.
Um, Eight of Pentacles, the US is working on a plan. This is hard work. This is on a plan. This is not money. There's no, unfortunately, not much there. Um, Six of Cups, I see this card very clearly, trying to make a deal. We're not gonna come and do this. I think the pressure, I just got those energies, like the energy shutdown, the whole
Mm,
blackouts. I think this is to put more pressure on Cuba. I feel like there will be some sort of a deal, and
mm.
it will be isolated. That will
Interesting.
basically isolate it to get some sort of a deal. I feel like the US will gain more control over Cuba, but it doesn't
Hmm.
feel like a ground
What?
invasion or yes.
Why do we care? I thought we only cared about Cuba because Russia could put nuclear bombs on Cuba. Wasn't that why do we care about Cuba? Cuba doesn't have oil. I thought those, remember with JFK and the Bay of Pigs?
I
Wasn't
feel
it
like
because Russia controlled Cuba?
there's
I'm gonna
definitely
ask ChatGPT.
A Russian aspect, but also I think it's the geopolitical location, so close to the US, so close, and the history. I mean, you
Okay,
look at
yeah, exactly. It's the closeness to the US. It could militarily impact the US. And there is a trade route that kind of goes
yeah.
nearby. So if they kind of like the Strait of Hormuz is happening to Saudi Arabia, Cuba could disrupt us. Okay, so it's a military position type of
And
thing.
I feel like, I mean, obviously Rubio has a desire to, like, it feels almost like fix it, revenge, like that kind of energy I get from Rubio. He wants to get back to Cuba for what happened.
Yeah. When you pull the Six of Cups, I thought of that, the nostalgia that the US can
Yeah,
finally
so,
conquer Cuba
yeah,
because nobody
yeah,
else could. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, very
absolutely. You're
interesting.
right.
Um,
Interestingly too,
okay.
the Six of Cups in these cards is a man and a woman, but in regular tarot you have the children and past generations. So it's a generational
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because I mean, if Marco Rubio runs for office, if he can have Cuba, that could be a feather in his cap. Like, look, I was
Yeah.
able to for the Latin
And
community.
a lot of Cuban communities vote Republicans
Yeah,
as
yes, they are.
yeah, and completely different from other Latino communities, and it's a different way of looking at politics. And there's a loyalty to that older Cuban heritage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And machismo, I think that's what it's called. The strong hand, the strong male archetype in the
Hmm.
Latin cultures. I think here in California, I think it's called machismo, which is like a
Hmm.
strong male. And folks, please correct me if I wrote it wrong or said it wrong. So very much what you're talking about, that Cuban kind of dynamic. Okay, let's go into April. And then if anything else comes in with Trump, we can have you read
We
in
can
terms
maybe
of the
close with Trump. Yeah, close April and close with Trump.
yeah, close with Trump. Yeah, because there's some insights in terms of how it might end, how he will taco it out, or how he'll exit this current predicament. So yeah, folks, if you haven't done the paradigm shift reading, reach out to me. I'd love to book it. It'll be below in the description. I also have a calendar and I have a manifestation class on June 6th that I'd love to have you join. So when it comes to April, there are two dominant energies. We first enter April where relationships feel tense. Surprise, surprise. We have a lot of planets starting to pile up in Aries, and it's not just a pile up in Aries and the attributes you might think about of Aries. It's also cardinal energy because when planets are in Aries, they activate the Libra cardinal axes, the Capricorn cardinal axes, and the Cancer. So, folks, if you have cardinal placements or any kind of Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn placements, those are going to be activated in particular in April. You're going to feel tense. You're going to feel movement though too, a lot of movement, which is good. So as much as things are irritated, it's going to be moved. It's going to shift that energy for you. We also have the two lunar events are in the Libra Aries position. So that's focusing on relationships. How much are you separate? How much are you interconnected and interdependent? And so for the collective, when we think about the world stage, but also individually in your life, you're going to be clear about which relationships and partnerships are adding value to your life and which ones are taking away, and where you should maybe go it alone and just do things on your own and individuate in different ways. And then we also start the month with Venus squaring Pluto. Venus is relationships, harmony. Pluto is, change, transformation. It doesn't feel good. So we're going to start April with feathers ruffled. And then mid part of April, we have a lot of planets pile up into Aries. As they pile up into Aries, they're going to sextile Uranus and Pluto, and there's this breakthrough energy, that timeline jump energy, the new paradigm starting to emerge. Very much what you pulled, Nathe, the Eight of Wands of movement and shift. So, folks, if you're on the fence about anything, about being in a relationship, starting a job search, starting a business, middle of April is a great time to start doing that. There's something about not asking for permission slips, just going for it. Very powerful breakthrough transformation. And folks, as much as the past 3 weeks, we're in a reality that we would not want to be in, given the world events and the economy and what's going to happen next, things can quickly change and we can off ramp from all of this too. So just as much as things can on ramp, things can off ramp. And then as I think we talked about it before the recording, which was the Gemini, Uranus and Gemini component. Venus and Uranus go into Gemini. Uranus goes into Gemini and stays there. We are not having any more Uranus and Taurus. And that really is a new paradigm, a new reality with that. And so, very dynamic energy. April might feel like 2 months in one. Like it's just going to be like hydrate, folks, move your body, drink enough water. It will go by in a blink, but so much will happen. So much, you'll feel very productive. You'll feel very accomplished. If you look at your photo reel for April, you're going to be like, wow, look at this happen and this happened. And, it's just, it's a great month to see progress and movements and different things, as much as it might not feel good right now where we are. So that's the high level of April. And for the interest of time, because I know we went a little bit longer, I'm going to just go to some key events and then I'll have you pull card on one of the key events because it seems like that might be a dialing down of this war. So when it comes to April, we have a couple events that are irritating. I want to say the thing you want to really pay attention to are the blue. And so what we have here on the 20th, it's actually to pay attention to from the 17th to the 20th. That's kind of the most dynamic, loudest part of the month. That's where energies will be high. It'll be important to kind of integrate ground because it's just a lot of things are shifting. So it starts with this new moon in Aries, very last degree. Then we also have Mercury in Aries sextiling Pluto. So there's some sort of transformation occurring. But then this Mercury is imbued with Pluto energy and it conjuncts Saturn and Mars at the same time. Wow. I might even have you pull cards, Nathe, on this 20th event because that's a
Okay.
lot of energy. I potentially could see we have an agreement, a ceasefire or something
Oh,
on the
okay.
20th.
I
Yeah.
thought I was
It's,
feeling a ceasefire, and is that exactly at the 6 weeks mark that I
oh,
was
is it
talking
really?
about? I
Oh
think
my
it is.
gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, astrology can work out like that. And other things to keep in mind, we have Venus squares Pluto in the beginning, doesn't feel great. Mars moves into Aries, a lot of directed energy, but it can feel like, whiplash because it's so much. And then Mars and Aries will conjunct Neptune in Aries, which causes a lot of like spiritual warrior energy. Around October 12th, we might see a lot of religious language in the war effort. We might see on the Israeli side, they might start using more religious language about this being a holy war, so just be careful of that because Neptune talks about religions and spirituality. There also could be a fog of war around April 20th. Communications could be off. There could be like AI videos-ish type of thing with that. But the 20th is a beautiful pinnacle moment where something like a contract or an opinion or a decision becomes very clear around that. And I'll have you here, let's go have you pull cards on that. What did you see with that or what did you pull with that?
And how should I ask this question? Like the energy of the April 20.
Hmm. Or the astrological, yeah, April 20th and that astrological event. It's very powerful. Oh my gosh, I'm a little
You're gonna
scared.
have a big laugh. You're gonna have a big laugh. It
Okay.
gets better and better to the reading. First card, nothing less than the Tower.
Oh my
Something
God.
very sudden.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, a
very,
sudden event.
it's a
Something.
timeline shift, folks. Yeah, April 20th is a big day. Yeah. Wow.
Second card, it's a three-card reading. The second card is the Ten of Pentacles. The 10 is end of cycle also, and also could be, yeah, end of cycle at the material level.
Okay. Wow.
And then, don't laugh. Third
Okay.
card, Eight of Wands.
Oh my gosh, that's the
I keep
theme.
getting this card for April.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so it's like,
It's a big
boom,
deal. Yeah.
end of cycle. Everyone kind of counts at the end of the fair, like, where you are with your thing, and then move forward movement from that point on.
Yeah. I feel also the Ten of Pentacles feels like a price tag, like something with money. Either the
Yeah,
stock market goes up or down, or he's
yes,
asking for money
yeah,
and then we agree to it.
yes,
There's something with money
yeah,
there.
yes, yes. Interesting, huh?
Yeah. Wow. So folks, yeah, really pay attention to that week. I would say maybe you want to avoid the news if you're too sensitive from the 17th to the 20th, or just take it in doses. I would say
Mhm.
that's just, it's a lot of energy, a lot of timeline shift energy, new paradigm. Wait, I was heading this way, now I'm heading this way. So just keep that in mind. And then also in April, we have a lot of planets joining Aries. We've got Mars going into Aries, which is very happy, Mercury going into Aries, and there's like I think a 6 planet pileup in Aries, and then the second part of the month, planets start moving into Gemini. So I want to say, in terms of the conflict, we're having a lot of things about timeline shifts with the conflict. This could be, oh, now we have soldiers there. Oh, we did this military move. There's something about the stages of war, potentially, we're going to have maybe, we had one stage of war so far. We might actually have two or three stages of war in April, or shifts there. There's something, it's like the story's speeding up. We were in Act 1 and now we're in Act 3 and 4 in the month of April. There's a lot of movement
Final,
here.
final act.
Or the final one. Yeah, I don't. Astrologically, I've done this before when I looked at Trump's chart, because he's the linchpin of this whole war, in my point of view. Um, he's very happy in June. So it's very likely we are not in the war in June, based on me looking at his chart. And he's just focusing on the economy. He has a new idea for something with the economy. So I don't see war energy when I look at his June. So keep that in mind, these kind of dates in terms of the collective shifts. So I'm not going to go into this too much, but folks, when it comes to this new moon, these are recommendations for you to orient to it. There's something about new beginnings. Aries also represents the beginning of the zodiac wheel, so this is actually considered the beginning of the new year in astrology world. Like, this is, our January 1st is with the new moon in Aries. So there's a lot of potent energy here. Also, with this very positive, like, you see this little baby trine, a lot of breakthrough energy, a lot of collaborative planets working together, and it's not good for Trump. I won't go into it so much, but that planetary pileup is opposite his Neptune. He's Jupiter is squaring Jupiter, and Chiron's getting in there. Uranus is still squaring his Mars. It's not great for him. And I often talk about this with because this new moon is in Aries, it's all about bold starts, new beginnings. And I talk about this in my manifestation class, that sometimes when you want to shift a timeline, you have to take a bold first step, like going home to a different route, or reaching out to someone you normally wouldn't reach out to. And you don't have to have the whole path figured out. But if you start with that bold action, you can shift the energy. And that is the vibe of this new moon in Aries, is that bold action. Like, for example, Nathe, maybe this could have been rewinding the clock when you've decided to have the magazine the first time. Like, oh, I've never done a magazine before. I could do a magazine. There's something about going off the beaten path and doing something for the first time that's really part of this particular new moon. And then we have a full moon in Libra. I won't go into this because too much. You can pause the screen and go in and read all of this. But this one's about releasing relationships, and we start there. So there's something about like NATO alliances, or on the world stage, or partnerships that Trump could potentially walk away from. This could be Trump maybe walking away a bit more from Netanyahu, like maybe stepping away. There's something about alliances.
Mhm.
We could see that board of peace maybe breaking apart a little bit, like they're not there as together. Um, some interesting things that are ruffling the feathers on this June 2nd full moon. And this one's not great for Trump either. So he's got two lunar events in April that are not great at all. So we could go into Trump's, and how do we see this war ending? So one thing I want to say, the Joe Kent interview that he did with Tucker Carlson, it looks like it's working. It looks like basically in his interview, he said Trump was isolated. He had less people around him than when he did the 12-day war in June. So what it seems that Joe Kent's interview is, he did his interview, he planted the seeds with people that are more exteriorly peripheral to Trump. And now those people are starting to penetrate Trump in terms of how he's able to move. I think 48 hours after that Joe Kent interview, Netanyahu did that press conference where he's just praising Trump over and over again, trying to win him back. So, how do you see this war ending with with Trump? Do you see him ending in the month of June, or do you want to throw cards? Like, how do you see
Well,
it ends?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like I stick to what I was saying earlier with, a ceasefire
Okay.
in April, and then the rest are issues, a little bit like Gaza,
Okay.
where there was a ceasefire, but it's not over.
Mhm,
But you don't
mhm.
have active I mean, there is, but much less. And so I feel like it's going to be something where it's going to be tempered down, not an active war, with some sort of ceasefire in April. And
Okay.
then, but the bottom line is that, well, we don't really know what the goals of war were to
Yeah.
start with.
Yeah.
So we can't say mission accomplished because we don't even know how can it be accomplished if you don't know what the goal is. But it will not have accomplished much.
Okay. Because it's not Trump's goals. If one hypothesis is he's being blackmailed to do this, so this is the blackmailer's goals, not
And
his
I
goals.
see, yeah, and I talking about relationship, the way that you talk about April being such a month for relationship, I also see Netanyahu and Trump diverging.
It's and I think Joe Kent, folks, I really recommend the Joe Kent interview because also I feel like he coordinated with Tulsi Gabbard. I think there was a coordination of she'll be there and he'll do this and he's planting seeds over here, she's planting seeds over there, and I really feel it's working and they're trying to break up that tightness. And I don't think it's just Americans. I feel like European alliances are trying to break it up too because,
Of course,
they want protection with Ukraine. They don't want the
yes.
what's happening
And
there.
And there's the fear that once the war is quote unquote over, Trump's going to rush into forcing an agreement with Ukraine to just close that
Yeah.
chapter as well.
Yes.
And rushed agreement is not a good agreement. So it, we're going to be a little bit in limbo there. Um,
Yeah. And Russia has a better position now. It was easier to negotiate with Russia a month ago than now because they had that infusion of oil. So
exactly,
they have
exactly.
like six additional billion in profit to fund their war that they didn't have before all
Yeah, it's
this.
it's a shame. It's really a shame.
Can I ask one question before we end? The ground invasion. Do you see soldiers on the ground? Okay, I don't see it either. I don't see it
No,
at all. Yeah. I
no,
feel he
no.
gets really close. He puts them right there and says, I can play with my little army men. Look, watch out. But he doesn't do it. Yeah.
No, it's because let's face it, this war has gone really wrong. And I think once you start on the wrong foot,
Yeah. Let me share this too, because actually the astrology of the war,
well,
I had
it
this.
started in a Mercury retrograde. So let's just,
Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah, folks, it's actually really positive for people because Mars was in Aquarius, which is power of the people, was squaring Uranus. And when we look at the astrology of the 12-day war, it was more favorable for Mars and Leo, one leader to win. This was more humanitarian focused. And so very bad astrology to kind of start this war. I feel as, my own strategist kind of hat is I feel they made this board of peace to decide to be in a gang to eventually to when they have an opportunity to jump Iran. And I think when Netanyahu had the footage that all these leaders were in the same place, that's when they decided to do it, and that's why we are where we are. I
Mhm.
don't think there was a particular, and then I don't think they had an exit concept of after they do what happens next, because they were so single-minded about it. Yeah.
Did it start on the 15th? You had the 15th
The
in
June
there. I don't,
12th, I think it
what was
escalated on
the
the
15th?
15th. I think it
Okay.
started on the 12th. But there was a big pivotal moment that happened on June 15th where
Okay.
it might even be when that the US dropped those bombs or something. There was some pivotal escalation that happened on the 15th where it was like, oh, we're in a war again. So,
The
yeah.
reason I ask is in the tarot, 15 is, and the majors is the devil. And so
Oh,
that's not a good, yeah, not a good energy for something
oh,
like this.
interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, you'd be aware of those numbers. Any other thing that you want to read on or talk about?
I think it's a wrap, Ness. It's been a
Okay.
pleasure to have you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And always a lot of fun to cover such topics. I really happy that we talk about time. This is something that people ask all the time, like
Yeah.
especially as it connects to April. This was, I think, the perfect time to discuss time.
Yeah. Yes.
Ness,
I really-
thank you so much. If you want a reading with Ness,
Yeah.
you will have all the information in the description of this video and down below in the pin message to contact her. She's fantastic, and she does amazing personal readings. And so we'll see you next month.
Yes. See you next month. Bye, everyone. Nice to see you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.